The numbers told the story. They always do.
It's one of those idiots who believe in analytics.
This is a numbers game with Gill Alexander on VSiN.
Good Sunday morning to you. Don't often get to say that. It is a numbers game at VSiN, the sports betting network, VSiN.com, Game Plus, iHeartRadio, and of course YouTube TV and SiriusXM Channel 158. Gill Alexander, Kelley Bydlon, a little more than 5.5 hours away from the kickoff of Super Bowl 59, Super Bowl licks. How you doing, man? You good? You excited? You pumped?
I'm pumped. Let's go. Almost here, Gill. Let's play this game, man.
Let's do it.
The big game. It's a big show. We got coats on. That's how you know it's a big deal.
Well, I do it once a year, man. Wear a coat for the Super Bowl. I don't know if there's a big game today. I don't know if you know that. I'll just put on the jacket. Full VSiN coverage all day long. We're only here for an hour, so we got to squeeze it all in.
Yeah.
Because we got Jason Weingarten coming up and a shirtless Joe Ceraulo from Circus Swim. No?
I still haven't got a confirmation on that. You know, I texted Brian Ortega and Joe Ceraulo what I expect. We'll see what happens.
Ladies, just want to point that out. That could happen. Okay, so how do you squeeze in as much in 2 weeks of a lead up to a football game, not even in 1 hour, but in just a couple segments here? Let's just start with the line move that everybody has expected to happen. And by that I mean, the Eagles will end up being favorites by kickoff. We still have 5.5 hours, but it ain't happened yet. It's gone from 1.5 to 1 at the most. That's the biggest move that we've had. There are still some 1.5s out there, by the way, but 1 is the consensus now in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs, the AFC champion Chiefs. The total has in the 2 weeks gone down 2 points from 50.5 to 48.5. That is where we stand. So right now, again, this morning, the Chiefs still remain this flood of East Coast money. It hasn't happened yet, anyway.
Yeah.
And by the way, it's also, if you hear all the reports from sportsbooks, Kelley, the most balanced action anyone can remember in any Super Bowl, which doesn't really shock me.
Yeah, Derek Stevens was just on here a little bit ago with Story Bonatoni, Rich Gannon, and said that they are very balanced. I don't think that surprises me. I think I was a little shocked to hear as many people and as many bookmakers as we heard say they thought the Eagles would go off as favorites. And you're right, still a long ways to go. Is it really that big of a deal if they switch to a 1-point favorite? No, it's still relatively balanced action. But over the course of 2 weeks, how little movement we've had on this game. Pretty impressive.
It's also reflected in the fact that no one is reporting any massive 7-figure bets. Here at Circa, the most they've gotten is a couple $100,000, which obviously to the common man is a tremendous amount of money. But to the folks who make big bets on Super Bowls, that sort of constitutes a whimper, right? We haven't had big bets, and that is reflective of how sort of this game is viewed. I mean, I even think for folks who are willing to fire 6-7 figures on a pro football game, on a Super Bowl, even this one must cause a little bit of pause where they're like, wait, why am I doing this if I don't really know if I have no conviction on this? So that's reflected. No massive bets. And I'll just go back again in the spirit of trying to, really get in as many, sort of points that we've made over 2 weeks here. And by the way, this is one of the smallest Super Bowl spreads of all time. It doesn't get much smaller than 1, by the way. It can only go to a half. But really, we've only had 7 other Super Bowls before this one that have had closing lines of 1.5 points or less. And there we see the last, only 3 of them have closed at 1. There's by the way, 6 before that, because we include the Kansas City, Philadelphia game from this year right there in the middle of that graphic. So we shall see how it lands in the end, but this is its place in history anyway at this juncture. The very first thing I said 2 Mondays ago, so the day after the championship games, was, listen, I don't know who's going to win this game. I said I made my bet right after the championship games, Chiefs -1.5. I was not a believer that the line would move, so I made the bet then. I didn't want to have my mind changed in 2 weeks, which would obviously constitute lots of guests here on the show, and you intake all kinds of information, and your mind will waver. I decided I'm making the bet and I'm sticking to it. And the first thing I said is, you get what you deserve if you're betting against Patrick Mahomes here and you lose. Now that sounds like a harsh comment, but part of the handicap, and I think most of the handicap of people who did make bets on the Chiefs here, is that sort of fear of self-loathing that would occur, right? If you did bet the Eagles and Mahomes beat you again, how many times do we have to learn this lesson? And I just wanted the most amazing stat of the 4 Super Bowls that Patrick Mahomes has played in. And remember, the Chiefs have won 3 of them. They're going for a 4th, the 3rd in a row here, which would be the first three-peat in the Super Bowl era. But Kansas City, in all 4 of the Super Bowls in the Mahomes era, Kelley, have trailed by 10 points in each of them. And they've come back and won 3 of them. That remains the most amazing stat of this Kansas City Chiefs run. They've trailed by 10 points in all 4 of the Mahomes Super Bowls, and they've come back to win 3 of them. If you ask yourself, well, how unfathomable is that? I'm glad you asked. All other quarterbacks in the history of the Super Bowl who have fallen behind by 10 points, 4-48 in the big game.
Yeah,
so
sounds about
it's
right.
Incredible.
It is. I think also what you're talking about, I think that's the reason why we're seeing a bit muted money on the Eagles side, right? Because even if you like the Eagles, we've said it for, I mean, it's months, right? It's not even just the past 2 weeks. It's, you can't quantify what Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid and what this magic is, right? So everybody who's at home and building out matchups and models that they've got for this game, and they think the Eagles are the more talented team, there's this just unquantifiable part of Patrick Mahomes.
Here are the largest comebacks in Super Bowl history. If you guys could flash that up, because that was a great graphic again. Sorry if I missed it. But we always know the Tom Brady coming back from 28-3, that deficit against the Falcons.
Yeah, it was fun.
But then look, Mahomes, among the brigade of teams that have trailed by 10 in Super Bowls. Who could forget the one at the bottom there, 1987, Doug Williams, when the Skins scored 35 unanswered, in the second quarter of Super Bowl 22. But Mahomes against the Niners last year trailed 10-0 late first half before rallying to win in overtime 25-22. That one against the Eagles, they trailed by 10 at the half, 24-14 before they won it 38-35. Obviously, they trailed by 10 when they got crushed by the Bucs. But that one in 2019, when the Chiefs trailed the Niners by 10 also, that was into the fourth quarter, if you remember that, 20-10. And then they went 21-0 in the final frame to win that one 31-20. Me, you, and Matt Brown were in studio at the South Point for that Super Bowl. Now, all of that to say, yeah, obviously the game script, if you're the Chiefs, ought not to be, hey, let's fall behind by 10 and see if we can do this again. And because your first thought is, well, they ought not do this against this outfit, the Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm sure we said that about, we would have said that before any of those other Super Bowls too.
And I think from a betting standpoint, it begs the question, what do you do if you're a Chiefs fan, Chiefs better, more importantly, if they fall behind early, are you getting involved live? Because we've seen them with the potential to come back in these games.
Yeah. Here, by the way, Kansas City Chiefs Super Bowl rematches. You can see the graphic here as they try to pull off the Quiniela against the Eagles as they did against the Niners. Brent Musburger was just outside the studio as we walk in. This is part of the beauty of a Super Bowl Sunday is you have legends standing outside. And Brent stopped me and he said, one of the interesting things is if you're on the Eagles side of this, the handicap, so the people on the Chiefs side, generally speaking over the last 2 weeks, like myself, are like, hey, I just don't want to get in front of the Mahomes magic. And I'm still the person who says also, even though I'm betting on the Chiefs, if you come to me from the future and you say it's a blowout, I probably believe it's the Eagles who did the blowing out, that they authored the blowout. So I concede that. The folks who are on the Eagles, the biggest thing that they are saying is they're just a better football team all around the Kansas City Chiefs. Well, Brent seized on that comment just outside before I came in here. And he said, hey, here's the deal. They're common opponents this year. Chiefs went 8-0. Eagles went 6-2. Chiefs had a plus 61, I believe it is. Now I'm doing this by memory, so don't hold me exactly to the number. But plus 61, Eagles plus 32. So the notion that somehow the Eagles are just a better football team, at least through that prism, it sort of gets torpedoed.
It's a great note.
Yeah,
absolutely great note.
That's what I do, by the way. I just plant Brent outside the studio before every show, and I just say, what do you got for me, Brent? And I roll in.
Gil just calls him up on Sunday nights for guessing lines up. Yeah.
And again, in the spirit of, 2 weeks of this, Kelley, well, what else did we talk about? We had the persons, plural, who tweeted in about, hey, what about the refs? Because obviously there's the two football teams, and then there's the referees. The NFL, I will just sort of say this up front, the one thing that they absolutely don't want is for a Chiefs win that is somehow, cloaked in some kind of controversy with officiating. But just a reminder for folks who are looking for that sort of thing. Ron Torbert is the referee for this Super Bowl, but a Super Bowl crew is not the same crew that exists during the regular season and the playoffs that lead to the Super Bowl. This is an amalgamation. This is an all-star team, if you will. All of these officials, from referee to side judge to umpire, on and on, they are rated during the regular season. So this is like an all-star team group. So, and if you seized on just Ron Torbert, but what about Ron Torbert as an official? There is no bias here. Both teams, the Eagles and Chiefs, have winning records when he has been the referee, so it's not anything, nefarious in that regard. Though, I just want to point out the one point that I made a couple of weeks ago, which is there was the one moment in Ron Torbert's sort of career with the Chiefs. It was 2 AFC championships ago against the Bengals. So not the one where the Bengals won 3 years ago, but the one where the Chiefs won 2 years ago and then ended up beating these Eagles in the Super Bowl. But it was 20-20 in the fourth quarter. There was a little over 10 minutes left. The Chiefs had a third down. They failed to convert it. They brought the punt team out. There was commotion on the field. And then, come to find out, Torbert said, well, that play should have never happened. And the Chiefs had to run back onto the field. Even Tony Romo, who was on the color, was like, Jim, I think they're going for it on fourth. And Nance had to point out to Romo, no, they're doing a do-over. Mahomes gets sacked anyway, but then they call a defensive hold. And so the Chiefs didn't end up winning on that drive. They eventually had to punt. They did win with a late field goal. But for those looking for a conspiracy, I hope nothing happens today because they will cite that moment from 2 years ago.
Yeah, I'm with you. Chiefs win. Don't get any help from the refs, please. I don't want to hear it.
We'll come back. Little MVP discussion on the other side. Jason Weingarten, Joe Ceraulo. It's a numbers game on Super Bowl Sunday right here at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A numbers game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Ever had your deposit blocked by your bank right before a big bet? Never needed cash at 2 a.m. for another shot at the tables but hit your ATM limit? Edge Boost got your back. Edge Boost, the first ever bank account built for bettors. With Edge Boost, all your gambling-related transactions will always be approved. No more headaches. For your high rollers, you can move up to $250,000 a day on your Edge Boost Visa debit card with unlimited withdrawals. This works 24/7 for instant deposits. Never wait for a wire to clear again. It gets better. Every time you deposit into a gambling account, you earn cashback rewards up to 0.5 percentage point. All this for no usage fees and no minimum balance. It's a bank account, not a credit card, so there's no approval required or credit checks. Finally, Edge Boost has a suite of responsible gambling tools to help you manage your bankroll and make informed decisions. What are you waiting for? Go to edgeboost.bet. That's edgeboost.bet. Use the promo code ANG to start at Tier 2. That's to start at Tier 2 for faster bank transfers and higher cashback rewards. Sign up for Edge Boost today. Skill Alexander, we get tweets. Even on a Sunday, Kelley, we get tweets from the best listeners in the game. Mike Zhang, is today your last day till after vacation? No, I will be here for the Super Bowl recap numbers game tomorrow morning, as is our tradition here, the Monday morning after Super Bowl. This is from, so many. This is from Chris Heath. I rarely listen to a numbers game on the weekends, but when I do, it's at 10 a.m. on Super Bowl Sunday. Oh, by the way, did you know there was a game today? I'm familiar with that, Chris. Thanks for the reminder. Well, we did an investigation, and we found that out. JC, oh, snap, numbers game on Super Bowl Sunday morning. Couldn't get better. On another note, Jahan Dotson, first Eagles touchdown, 35-1. Happy Super Bowl Sunday, fellas. Teasers and parlays, special investigation revealed there is a Super Bowl edition of a numbers game today. Kelley, Gill, thank you for the last 2 weeks of great content. Looking forward to cashing some tickets tonight. Thank you for that. Wet Willie Colon, that good morning Sunday to you hits different. Kelley looking spiffy in that jacket. Well done, fellas. Jason H11, hey, Kelley, is that jacket a rental? Everybody's got you on the jacket.
Why? Gil never wears a jacket. Why aren't there any comments about Gil?
Well, you're more fun to talk about.
What the hell? There's so many tweets about this.
When it comes to you and jackets, it's more fun.
I also occasionally do shows on the weekend here where I always wear a jacket, so thanks for watching.
Joe C714. On a Sunday, it's Christmas. This is from Buddhist Man. Sports coat Kelley should be wearing a tuxedo T-shirt under that jacket while donning an AFC bucket hat.
See, that's just right. Buddhist Man as usual, Dales, and I should have done that.
And Rich PSM, why I'm not factoring Mahomes' magic or regret. He has lost in this game. Yes, he has. Brady lost a few at New England, including the greatest regular season ever. The Chiefs' one-score comebacks make it even more likely a good team beats them. Well, 17 in a row. I believe it's a record that'll never get broken, Kelley. 17 one-score games in a row the Eagles have won, including 12 in a row this year. Just one more tweet, because this leads into a discussion we want to get to, which is from Derek Cross. I'm sorry, what did I say?
Eagles.
Oh, yeah, Chiefs. What did I say? Yeah, okay, Chiefs. Derek Cross. Are my wires getting grossed? Found an anthem prop at over under 120.5, over plus 115, but it's first word to last note. Thoughts on smashing the over, knowing how he's going to play? Okay, this gets us into a real discussion about the novelty props. The anthem, which we crushed under 125, under 125 seconds, all of the intel says that it's 1 minute 59 seconds first note to last note of him singing.
Okay.
So what this gentleman, Derek Cross, I assume you're a gentleman, Derek, is asking is, this one's first word to last note, should we go over on it? And my answer would be yes, based on that intel. Because, again, the intel is it's 119 seconds of first word to last word. But we did great on the Super Bowl prop for the national anthem. We're going to hit that easily with 5 seconds to spare. One would imagine here, based on the intel, we're going to lose both the Kendrick Lamars, and you know what? Everybody's going to lose the Kendrick Lamars pretty much, because the song he's going to start with did not exist as an option until they threw it up at the last minute after they got the intel, just to sort of skirt the law, if you will, so that it was an option at some point.
Okay, I'm glad you brought this up.
Yeah.
Do you think that's what happened, or did someone call it in? Because Jason Weingarten, who's coming up next, I mean, Jason, Drew, we've heard these guys that make, hey, could you post the number for this?
Yeah.
I'm wondering if that's what happened.
Where there has been significant movement, and this is our special Gatorade correspondent, Kelley Bydlon, everybody, has been on the Gatorade prop. What do you have?
Steam alerts. Okay, so we were here on Friday.
Yes.
Yellow-green had gotten down to minus 200. We're bouncing back. We're at minus 125 right now at DraftKings. I believe FanDuel has taken down this market, which is kind of interesting. I double-check me on that. I looked real quick. When I brought this up to you, or what was this, 15 minutes ago? 20 minutes ago?
Yep.
Blue was at plus 250. The greatest Gatorade there is got bet all the way down to plus 250. When we were here on Friday, it was approaching 10-1, double digits. I saw 14-1 over the weekend. Of course, I didn't bet it because I'm an idiot, not a man of principles. It's now moved back. Purple is now the second shot, plus 350. Blue and orange, plus 550.
And you make of that what?
I don't know. Maybe people are just betting with their hearts this morning about blue being plus 250 because it is the best Gatorade.
There you go.
Again, these are no longer current odds, though. Blue has drifted.
Listen, we're trying to squeeze 2 weeks into 1 hour.
That's right.
Forgive us. Okay, MVP, which, by the way, I think I am going to add this between now and game time because I have said I'm going to do it. But right back here at Circa, Patrick Mahomes is at plus 128.
Whoa.
So I think after the show, if it's still there, even if it's 120, which is what we're listing, but as I looked at my app coming in, it was 128. I'm definitely betting that after the show because, again, thinking to myself, as so many are with the Chiefs, if the Chiefs win this, the likelihood of it being someone besides Patrick Mahomes, slim. And I'm being kind. You have a Mahomes bet. You got it at plus 125, which for the better part of the 2 weeks was the best number out there. It only existed for a minute. But you got that. Saquon is the short shot for the Philadelphia Eagles at plus 260. Jalen Hurts plus 350. Everybody else is 15-1 or longer in this.
I do want to say this is we just talked about in the first segment about how often the Chiefs have trailed, right? And Drew Dinsick brought this up with us last week. I've taken a position at plus 125. That number's amazing out there, Gill. I don't think I'll add, though, because I do think I'll look to add live if the Chiefs trail. That's how I'll attack it. Still think it's, in my mind, still a better proposition to go after betting him to win Super Bowl MVP than the Chiefs' money line right now is anyways. So same thing. If they're trailing, I think even a better reason to bet him in the MVP market as opposed to the Chiefs' money line, because if they're going to be coming back, especially by double digits, it's going to be on the arm of Patrick Mahomes.
And just to let you all know, again, Super Bowl MVP history, this unlike season-long awards where the 50 bettors at the Associated Press get to sort of contemplate this and pontificate about it for weeks on end. This is a MVP voted on the fly, and oftentimes the ballots go in, if you will, as the game is still going on. And out of 58 Super Bowls that have already existed, 33 have ended up with the quarterback being the Super Bowl MVP. By the way, not only are the Chiefs going for the three-peat, but Mahomes is going for the three-peat on MVP as well. Here's the breakdown by position. 33 to quarterback, 7 to running back, 5 to wide receiver. By the way, running backs, a thing of days gone by. Wide receiver at 5. Defense as a collective, 10. And then the one kick returner / punt returner, Desmond Howard, got the 1 in the special teams category. Defensive players, only 4 since the turn of the century. Only 4 defensive players in all the Super Bowls since the turn of the century. So you're talking about, 24 Super Bowls, if I have that right, have been on a defensive side of the football. The last of which was Von Miller. Do I have that correct? Von Miller, back with the Denver Broncos. So it's been a while. Here's those same stats since 1998, and you'll see a similar breakdown, right? Quarterback 16, wide receiver 5, as the game has changed towards passing. That makes sense. That wide receivers, all 5 of them have been since 1998. Linebacker, if you could sort of break down the 4 defensive players since the turn of the century, 3 were linebackers. 1 was a defensive back. The defensive back being Dexter Jackson of the Tampa Bay Buccaneers after the 2002 season, that Bucs win over the Raiders. 1998, by the way, the last time that a running back won the MVP. And by the way, here is the history, thanks guys, of the defensive players to have won the MVP, at least in modern day history. Von Miller, 2016, the Broncos being the last. Malcolm Smith 2 years before that with the Seahawks. Then you have to go back more than a decade prior to that to get the Dexter Jackson safety, was his position, to get his MVP. Ray Lewis 2 years before that. They were really fiending to give Ray Lewis that MVP, and boy did the Ravens stalwart and Hall of Famer deserve that one. And then before that, it was Larry Brown, who had Neil O'Donnell throw him 2 passes right into his lap. And then Richard Dent from the Super Bowl shuffle, greatest defense of all time, according to some 85 Bears in the January 86 Super Bowl. So, again, if you're thinking about a defensive long shot, just think to yourself, and some have, right? Some have come up here before Jalen Carter got ill. Some were like, I'm taking a shot at Jalen Carter at 70-1. Just know that it is rare. And these circumstances, just think to yourself, if you're still contemplating a Super Bowl bet, the circumstances it requires for a player like that on the defensive line to win an MVP, you just have to say to yourself, well, it's got to be low scoring, like a 13-3, let's say, the Patriots Rams game. I'm just coming up with a scenario. Low scoring where nobody on offense does anything really of note. It's a defensive struggle, and he ends up with 2.5 sacks and a forced fumble. Like that's how specific it's got to be.
There's also a market. Me and you never got a chance to discuss it this week. There is a market, though, of position to win Super Bowl MVP. I would suggest if you're looking at some of these defenders to look through, shop around and look at some of those prices, because I think you could find a better bet with more outs that way.
Good call. Sort of a bet by proxy to go into that category. Jason Weingarten, live in the flesh, right here at Circa. Next on A Numbers Game at VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
A Numbers Game on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.
Attention all serious sports bettors. If you're thinking about playing in the 2025 Circa Millionaire Survivor Contest, now's the time to get ahead of the game with Winner's Circle Proxy and VSiN. Sign up today for exclusive offers, including a drawing for a free Circa contest entry with proxy service, plus lock-in special pricing on Winner's Circle Proxy service for 2025. And as a bonus, you'll get access to expert contest strategies from past winners and VSiN pros. Don't wait. Head to winnerscircleproxy.com/VSiN. That's winnerscircleproxy.com/VSiN. It's Gill Alexander. We get tweets even on a Sunday. Y'all are the best. Appreciate it. This is from Rick Ollier. ANG on a Sunday. I mean, I knew pitchers and catchers reporting is always a huge deal, but I didn't realize they would have a special show for it on the weekend. Oh, and go Chiefs, he says. Let's ride. Hashtag he uses. Sly Bry, who is a lifelong Philadelphia Eagles fan, he says, I love Brent, but the Eagles' 2 common opponent losses, the Falcons and Bucks, were before the Week 5 bye week, which changed the Eagles' entire season. I wouldn't hang my hat on that. Well, Brent did point that out to me as well. I just didn't relay that little detail. Still, nonetheless, an interesting little tidbit. D-back 48 hitting a Super Bowl party. Is it yay or nay wearing an NFL jersey of another team, asking for the wife? It's always a little odd. But, if it's a beloved player by all, like, when RG3 was a rookie, that kind of thing, then I think it's allowed. Otherwise, yeah, can't do that. By the way, you can wear a Terry McLaurin jersey. You have my permission. Paul Zhang, ZZ Top should be playing your intro music today, talking about Kelley with a beard and a jacket. And Chris of St. Bart's, thanks for being on today. Great to listen while prepping for the game and cooking. Need to hear you guys' St. Bart's experiences sometime soon. Well, we'll get to that on a normal show. I'll tell you what a treat is here on Super Bowl Sunday or any days when Jason Weingarten comes in studio with us at Spreadopedia, as you know him, always from under a cloud of smoke when he's on the show with us. In studio, not under a cloud of smoke, we think. He might be under a cloud of smoke. It's still possible. It's Jason Weingarten, everybody. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Good to be here. Always fun to be in Vegas. Always fun to be in studio in person. And, we get the Super Bowl today, so it's going to be a good day.
In your signature your signature sweatsuit?
I'm always always dressed the same.
I know you're super relaxed, Jason, but we have to get you closer to the mic so we can hear
sorry.
you.
All right.
Yeah.
Now we're here, right up close to the mic.
That's right, so we can hear you. Okay, let's start with this. 2 weeks we have been sitting here, Kelley and me have been sitting here, as every host or every show has been sitting in their respective chairs for the 2 weeks. But in Kelley and my position, we've sat here and taken in information from all kinds of folks, one person smarter than the previous. And I have to tell you, something you said has stuck in my head maybe more than anyone else. Do you have any idea what it was?
No. What did I say?
You say a lot.
Guess.
It's the part about D-Hop, DeAndre Hopkins, and the part that you seem to have some sense of history. I believe you brought up Max McGee. From Super Bowl I, which was a stretch, but I understand what you're saying. It's sort of like the when I talk about William the Refrigerator Perry and that prop after the 1985 season in Super Bowl 20. That Mike Ditka's regret was that he didn't give Walter Payton this sort of career crowning achievement of scoring a touchdown. DeAndre Hopkins might fit that kind of category, and you think that might be something.
Yeah, I think there's still a good player in him. A lot of times you get older veteran receivers, running backs, whatever, and they just don't have it anymore. I don't think DeAndre Hopkins is necessarily that kind of player. And I do think, just to point out, that there was something late in the season with incentives where if he had been on the field for more snaps, they would have had to pay him more money. So I think they were intentionally kind of slow playing him at the end of the regular season. As for the playoffs, he didn't get the ball, but today's a new day. This is likely his last game. I don't think he's coming back for another season. He might, but today's the day to leave it out all on the field. And I didn't bet on him to win the MVP. I did bet on him to score a touchdown. I did bet on him to score 2 touchdowns. I think when we talk about wide receivers today, for the most part, betting any wide receiver to score 2 touchdowns or tight end is likely going to be a better bet than MVP, because the guy throwing him the ball is likely going to win the MVP. That's generally the case with these awards. But if you like any of these receivers, the 2 touchdown prop is probably the way to go. Like I said, with Hopkins, I don't necessarily expect him to get 5, 6, 7 passes, although it's possible. I do expect him to be an option in the red zone, and that's the same reason I ended up betting Noah Gray. When you look at trying to scheme against the big weapons, you're going to take away Travis Kelce, you're going to take away Xavier Worthy because he's a speedster. So you're going to have to get the ball to other players. Hopkins scoring a touchdown, not out of the question. Noah Gray scoring a touchdown, he'll likely be involved in 2 tight end red zone packages. I thought that was a good value at 29-1. I think, like you said, Hopkins, he's an enigma. I think that's the right word. But there's certainly talent there, and I certainly would not be surprised if Patrick Mahomes looks in his direction when they're in or close to the red zone.
So, going through what you actually did bet here, you mentioned Noah Gray first touchdown, 29-1. You got to be excited for a 400-1 bet. Walk us through the Trent McDuffie Super Bowl MVP bet.
Every year, I try to find 1, 2, 3 defensive players that I think have a chance to win the MVP, because sooner or later a defensive player has to win, and recently it was Von Miller, and before that it was Malcolm Smith, and before that, honestly, I couldn't even tell you who it was the last time before that.
Dexter Jackson, Ray Lewis.
Okay, no one would have got Dexter. Yeah. Was he like 500-1 or something when he won?
He was long.
Yeah, so that's my point, is a lot of these times they're very big long shots, but defensive players, my criteria for betting them is you have to be on the field more or less 100% of the snaps, because you have the most opportunities to make the plays. McDuffie, he's one of the cornerbacks. He will be on the field likely 100% of the snaps unless he's injured. The Eagles are going to have to throw the ball. You get a guy like this, obviously it's not a very popular pick. He's 400-1, but if I had come in here, it was January, February 96 and said, Larry Brown, he's going to win the... Right. No one, that's just the way it goes. Sometimes players make a name for themselves in the big game. And, being a cornerback on the outside, the ball's coming your way a lot. Wouldn't surprise me if he ends up with an interception in his hands. And if he ends up with 2? You never know. If it's a low-scoring game, guy like that could be the difference. I'll take a shot at 400-1.
400-1. Yeah, 2 picks, one of which goes back to the house, and then a sack. How about that?
Yeah, any game-changing plays. The guys who make game-changing plays win the MVP. Cornerbacks, they have the opportunity if the ball's going to be thrown a lot, which I do think both these teams are going to be fairly heavy passing offenses. Say no offense to Saquon Barkley, but ball's going to be in the air a lot.
Total players with a pass attempt over 2.5, plus 175. That number's hard to believe.
Yeah, that was actually here at Circa. I love this bet. I love the over 2.5 pass attempts. I bet that almost every year. Day like today is Super Bowl. You have a trick play. You have a secret play. Now's the time to run it. There's no next week. There's no game you're holding this back from. If you got a halfback option pass or some sort of screen pass, flea flicker, you want to run something, wide receiver option, today is the day to use it. Andy Reid, he's creative. I'm like I said, if you have a secret play, now's the time to use it. Plus 175 seems a bit high to me.
All right, and then this one probably doesn't need any explanation. I guess this is the Patrick Mahomes magic prop. Chiefs fourth quarter money line minus 120.
If it's a close game or the Chiefs are behind in the fourth by a touchdown or less, I expect them to be very aggressive. I think that they likely win the fourth quarter. I see money coming back and forth both sides on this game. That made me more interested in looking at first half, second half, breaking it down by quarters. One of the things that sticks with me over watching the last couple Chiefs Super Bowls is that if I am correct, and again, sometimes my memory is not correct, but I remember specifically the 49ers game. They were down late in the game, and I just remember telling my dad,
10 points, fourth quarter.
It's over.
Yeah.
The Chiefs are going to win. He goes, what do you mean? They're down 10 points. I said, the 49ers are out of gas. Like, look at them.
That was the first Chiefs 49ers Super Bowl, yeah.
Just completely out of gas. And I don't know if it comes down to conditioning or how these teams condition or anything, but when it looks bad in the fourth quarter and you look over and you see the Chiefs are still coming, they're still getting first downs, they're still running the ball on you, doing everything they're supposed to do, it wouldn't surprise me if the Chiefs come back and win this game. It's not over. Even if the Eagles have a 10-point lead late in the game, I'm going to be sitting here probably saying, well, the Chiefs are, Chiefs are not out of it. They look over and see Patrick Mahomes, you're never out of it. So
also in that first one, you had the Jimmy Garoppolo factor, which probably didn't inspire you on that side either.
A little different. I just remember sitting there thinking they were gassed.
But we said this in the first segment. The most incredible stat of the entire Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl run of these 4 Super Bowls, 3 of which the Chiefs have won, is that in all 4 of those Super Bowls, the Chiefs have trailed by 10 points at some point in them. Now, the one that you're citing was the deepest into the game that they trailed by 10. But they've trailed by 10 in all of them. Obviously, only the Buccaneers were able to sustain that lead against them. So that's incredible. Last thing before we go, Sports Talk Radio question. If the Chiefs complete the three-peat today, is it the most impressive, given all the Patriots' 6 Super Bowls, is the three-peat still more impressive than that?
Yeah, it's a three-peat. I mean, the only other team to win 3 consecutive championships is Green Bay Packers, and the first one was the last year before the Super Bowl. So,
hasn't happened in the Super Bowl era itself.
As the historian of the Super Bowl era, you would have to say this is one of the best teams we've ever seen win 3 straight Super Bowls. We'll see Mahomes and Reid and Kelley and probably a couple other guys in the Hall of Fame when all is said and done.
Jason, thank you. Always a pleasure, my man.
Always. I love being here.
Joe, we love having you. Joe Ceraulo on the other side with me and Kelley. It's a numbers game, Super Bowl Sunday.
A numbers game on VSiN, the sports betting network.
Back with a numbers game, Super Bowl 59, less than 5 hours away from kickoff. It's Gill Alexander, it's Kelley Bydlon here on a special Sunday edition of a numbers game. Tim Murray coming up here at the top of the hour. We like to confine it to only Super Bowl 59 stuff, but we do have one NFL note that is worth repeating. This is from Jordan Schultz on Twitter. While he says sources, while further discussions are expected, the overwhelming belief is that the New York Jets are unlikely to move forward with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback in 2025. Sources telling Fox NFL on Fox with a new regime in place. Many anticipate a fresh start, and a resolution is expected.
Jay Glazer just followed up with this. He was just on Fox talking about it as well. Just tweeted out, Aaron Rodgers flew back to New Jersey last week to meet with the Jets about his future with the team, only to be told that the team was moving on from him. If that means that he will be a June 1 designation that allows him to sign with any team in the league on March 12th if he decides to continue to play. Given that Aaron made the effort to fly back to discuss his future, all signs point to him continuing to play. It just won't be for the Jets.
What was your favorite part of the Aaron Rodgers New York Jets era? Oh, it was so vast.
I secretly there was kind of he was easy to root against a lot, right? So I don't know any favorite. There was a lot of favorite parts, Gill.
Well, I think we know what was the most memorable was the torn Achilles for it plays in. That's for sure. We get tweets at Beating the Book. Jason Stark, Steelers jerseys always acceptable at a Super Bowl party, no matter the teams. He says. Scuba Scott thoroughly enjoying the extradition of Beating the Book while driving from my home in Kenosha, Wisconsin, to a great friend's house in the greater Detroit area. He's a full Lions season ticket holder, so we have only one rule: no Lions apparel today. None. Not allowed.
Or conversation.
Or conversation,
Yeah.
right. Bobby Geddes, my buddy, walks into my house and says, change the volume from a numbers game to waste management golf. He said, I don't think so, pal. I don't think I'm getting any refrigerator Perry references from Trevor Immelman. You sure aren't. And then some folks are buttressed by what they've heard on this show. NCI 95 Gambler says the Jason McDuffie MVP bet gives me confidence on the McDuffie sack. Given out on your show earlier in the week. And Logic3227 says, I love that over 2.5 players to attempt to pass bet. I also bet it every year as soon as it comes out. Got it at 2-1 this year at DraftKings. Which brings us to our official bets of the day, courtesy of GBank, the official bank of VSiN. I am on the Kansas City Chiefs. Again, I took it right after the championship games, -1.5. My two Kendrick Lamar bets are going to be wrong, but guess what? Everybody's Kendrick Lamar's first song at halftime bets were wrong. The one that's going to happen didn't even exist. I did hit the national anthem. It's going to be under 125 in terms of first lyric to last lyric. These are all intel based that we know the answers to right now. As far as the game itself, beyond the Chiefs, I am going to add a Mahomes MVP bet after this. I already have in pocket Kareem Hunt. Chiefs first touchdown scorer plus 425. Kareem Hunt first overall touchdown score 9-1. You, sir.
All right, let's roll. I added a few more this weekend, Gil. All right, first one, the most important, AFC, Team AFC, -115 to win the Super Bowl. I saw Brent with an NFL hat out there, Gil. Said, I should have brought my AFC hat, man. I missed my chance. Okay, Patrick Mahomes wins Super Bowl MVP. I'm already in on plus 125. I think I'll probably do what Drew suggested earlier this week, though, and look to add live at this point if they do end up trailing, add on Patrick Mahomes Super Bowl MVP if, we do have a shop in town that actually offers that. Xavier Worthy over 5.5 rushing yards. Kareem Hunt over 42.5 rushing yards. Juiced up to -140. You can probably find a better price on that now. Pacheco longest rush under 8.5 yards. Here's a couple new ones for you, Gil. Saquon Barkley, first quarter rushing yards under 27.5. Had to lay a lot here because books were dealing different numbers. I saw all the way down to 24.5. And this is a little tip of the cap to some of the established the run guys. Adam Levitan was listening to their podcast. So I brought up some good ones here. Did that one, played this one a little bit differently than what they were talking about. But A.J. Brown, first player with 50-plus receiving yards at plus 280. Like this, how do I think this game script goes? I think they struggle to run the ball a little bit. Chiefs sell out to stop that. It opens things out on the outside. A.J. Brown, big playability and man coverage. We know how he does there. Plus 280 to get to 50-plus yards receiving first. Like that. Either quarterback to throw for 350-plus yards. Expect a lot of action in the air, so I'm going to take a long shot here on that. Plus 575. Both teams to score 1+ touchdown each half. Yes, -115. Will there be a 2-point conversion attempt? Yes, plus 110. Yes, Gil, I did add to that the other day as well.
You love that bet.
I do. And total passing completions over 43.5.
All right. Did we add Jason Weingarten?
We do have Jason Weingarten.
Jason Weingarten, in case you missed it, people are already reacting to it. Jason Weingarten had a couple again, or he has four actually. Noah Gray, first touchdown, 29-1. Trent McDuffie, Super Bowl MVP, 400-1. Total players with a pass attempt over 2.5. I might add that one. Plus 175. Chiefs, fourth quarter money line, expecting some of the Patrick Mahomes magic. -120. Magic late, that is. GBank, best bets of the day, of the show. Always brought to you by GBank, the official bank of VSiN. GBank upping the ante with up to $750 bonus for a new GBank Visa Signature Card customer. First, new customers who spend $1,000 on eligible purchases within 90 days from account opening receive a $250 bonus. In addition, if you spend $50,000 on gaming and sports app loads within the 30 days of account opening, you'll receive another $500 bonus. That's potentially a $750 bonus. They did the math for us. Apply now at VSiN.com/GBank. That's VSiN.com/GBank. Subject to credit approval. Terms and conditions apply. Kelley, the always prescient Buddhist man on Twitter, says, if it's all Super Bowl stuff today, why are you having an ATP player on the show today? What he means by that is that we have Taylor Fritz Doppelganger, the host of Cash It Out here weekdays on the network, and the gentleman who will be in my chair for the next 2 weeks after tomorrow, the great Joe Ceraulo. Part of the Vibe Report here, live from Stadium Swim at Circa, letting us know what's happening out there. But he does have clothes on, ladies. I apologize. My bad. What's going on, Joe? What's up with that?
Sorry to disappoint with the suit still on. You know, right now we've just got DJ rehearsal going on as we check in on the vibes here at Stadium Swim. The doors haven't opened yet, so when the doors open, the clothes tend to come off. That's usually how we roll, Gill.
What is your bet? I'm curious. Where did you land on this game?
I mean, I've got 11 in pocket right now, but let's get to the winner. That's what everyone wants to know. I'm with you, Gill. I'm on Kansas City. I will die backing Mahomes before I die saying this is the one that he's going to fall in. I'm all over the Chiefs in this one. 30-24, my final score prediction, and I've got Travis Kelce, 18-1 MVP in pocket. I think he's going to have a vintage performance. It wouldn't shock me if it's his last game either.
Are you of the mindset as I am, which is the overriding things? Well, there's two overriding things. One, for me, it's, listen, I'd rather have Reed, Mahomes, Butker than I would Sirianni, Hurts, Elliott, which I don't think enough is made of Elliott's troubles here, his inconsistencies, and also the fact that I just don't want to be the guy, right, who bets against Mahomes and has him beat me. Like, the self-loathing will be off the charts. I'm done with that.
Absolutely. And, you know, when you talk about the comparisons, first off, great point about Elliott. He has been one of the most inconsistent kickers in the league from 50-plus this year. How about Steve Spagnuolo? Because the way I view this, it's not Andy Reid versus Nick Sirianni. It's Steve Spagnuolo versus Nick Sirianni and Kellen Moore. And Spags in the Super Bowl, I mean, look, I'm a Giants fan, right? The reason that I peaked at 9 years old is because I got to enjoy Super Bowl 42 when the Giants took down the Pats, when David took down Goliath. I will forever back Steve Spagnuolo as a big game defensive coordinator.
All right, Joe, how many more Vibe reports are we getting from you today? Hour after hour?
Yeah, what could people expect, Joe?
Yeah, give us a preview.
I could tell you guys in the 1 p.m. Pacific hour, you could expect a lower shot. What I mean is right now we've got the aerial view. I'm up top above Stadium Swim. We will be in or around the pool in that 1 p.m. Pacific hour.
I'm glad that's what you meant by lower shot, Joe. Point that out.
Beer funnels. What are we going to get out of you today? Come on, Joe. How are you going to step this up? It's a Super Bowl party.
I'm feeling some frozen slushies. I got to try a red concoction and a green concoction, and we'll see who wins the game based on which cocktail tastes better.
All right, Joe, glad to have you out there at the Joe Ceraulo, ladies and gentlemen, on Twitter if you want to follow Joe, and Joe will be on air. Tim Murray's going to take over at the top of the hour. He will have Joe on, and who knows what is in store the rest of the day from Joe out there at Stadium Swim. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate it, and thanks for doing the next 2 weeks here on A Numbers Game.
Thank you, guys.
Joe Ceraulo, everybody. Stadium Swim, the Vibe Report.
Yeah, he's doing a little TV trick there. TV trick I'm going to call out. There's nothing on those note cards. We just hold like 20 note cards. What's on there, Joe? Would it be in Gill's name? So you remember it? Come on.
All right, we got 90 seconds here, 60 seconds to 90 seconds to give our final thoughts, at least you and me, on Super Bowl 59. Yours, sir, are?
Chiefs win. Chiefs, we get a much higher scoring game than people expect. Saquon Barkley, I don't want to say struggles, but Eagles are forced to. I think they come out early looking to establish the passing game and then fall behind and have to pass the ball even more. So Saquon Barkley has a little bit of a worse game than a lot of people expect. And Patrick Mahomes wins MVP in another Chiefs victory. I'll say 30-24. How about that? Is that what Joe said?
That's what Joe
said. Okay.
Something like that.
30-26.
Literally was just on the show and you bit his score. I will just seize on what I just said at the end there, which is that triumvirate. Reed, Mahomes, Butker versus Sirianni, Hurts, Elliott. I think that our postscript, when we do the recap, because I will be in here tomorrow before Joe takes over on Tuesday, I think our postscript will largely center around that in the end, coaching and a coaching decision or two made the difference, and the Chiefs complete the three-peat. That is my belief.
Let's go. I'm ready.
Let's go.
Bring the game on.
Tim Murray, top of the hour, continuing things, all-day coverage right here for Super Bowl 59. Stick around. It's VSiN, the Sports Betting Network.